And it was 3 days ago on June 24th, 2025, that I finished This Is How You Lose the Time War by Max Gladstone and Amalo Motar. I apologize if I'm saying one of those names wrong. Jumping straight into non-spoilers, this is a book that my sister recommended me. She really wanted me to read. This is her copy too, so I need to return this. But I'm reading this as per my sister's request. She really loved it and wanted me to try it out. And this was a fascinating book. I did not realize going in that it was a letter format. I've read one other book that I can recall in a letter format, and that was I'm only remembering half the name. The Potato Peel Pie Society. Guernsey. The Guernsey book. Which was also an interesting book. It was a romance, so I didn't particularly like it, particularly at the time I read it. I've not returned to that book. But it's the only book I can recall that I've read that was in a letter format until this one. I think there was probably one other. It was a classic book. I think I read a classic book at some point that had letters in it. But it's not coming to me right now. Also, crazy world building. I think the most notable features of this book are the world building, the characters. It's very strange in that they have a lot of depth, but they also don't simultaneously. If you know, you know. So the character development is pretty unique, I think, in this series. But the world building and then the letter format. The formatting is very intriguing, and I didn't know where this was going. I didn't actually know the genres of this when I started it, though I assumed there was going to be some time element because it's in the title. Yeah, that plot was not what I expected. The genre was not what I expected, and I loved how it came and went, and there was a lot of there's a lot of different energies in different parts of the book, but it all fit together really well. There wasn't a linear path, but everything made sense. Well, the last few chapters they take a little bit of processing, but I think it made sense. I was worried that this book was going to be really dense for how small it is. I thought it was going to be hard to follow because of the subject, but I think this actually was pretty easy to understand, even though it's kind of a complex concept. And I did have to Google some words. There was a lot of vocabulary I did not know. But it's not necessarily for the story. It's just like a background context. Like you're just Googling these words to have more of the world building in mind, to know specifically what the characters are talking about. I think those are a lot of the big elements here. It's kind of a cliffhanger. It's not, but it is. The story ended, but you also want just a little bit more. You just want one more chapter. But they really left it to your own interpretation at the end. One of those classic ones. So that's kind of how it went there. Overall, I really appreciate this book. I might have gone a little slow through it just because of work, but I really did enjoy this. And I don't know if there's many books like this out there. I welcome everyone to prove me wrong and find a lot of books like this. But as far as I know, this is pretty unique. So yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say for non-spoilers for This Is How You Lose the Time War. And I'll probably have a few comments for spoilers, so this is your time to leave. I don't have water today. No hydration. Jumping into spoilers. So, blue and red have immaculate energy. I liked when they were enemies at the beginning, especially. But I also liked when they started getting along too. I liked both, or really all three. You could probably separate into a lot of different subsections of their relationship. But when they were against each other, I was very intrigued. I read the first half in one sitting, because I was very intrigued what was going to happen, and like if one of them was going to like out puzzle the other, and I liked how the letters were hidden. It was very fascinating each chapter. I wanted to hear like the next way they did it, um, and then they started being chased, and I was like, interesting. What's going to happen? Is this how they lose the Time War? No, it wasn't. How they lost the Time War was themselves, and that was very interesting. And there wasn't necessarily an actual like loss to the Time War. It's just how the Time War will be lost, which is kind of very clever naming on behalf of the authors naming the book. I kind of wanted more puzzles like after they started really getting along, especially when they started saying "I love you" to each other. I still wanted like a little bit of contrast between them, while simultaneously having them starting to try each other's things, like Blue being more red and appreciating more red things. But I love it as it is. I love it as it is. I'm just also saying like these are things I was thinking about while I was reading. I was like, are they going to do this? Are they going to do this? The locations, some of like the lore drops are very interesting. I love Garden as a concept. I think Garden's very interesting. No offense to Commandant, but I find Garden more interesting. All of Red's body pretty much being like systems and machines. It's very interesting. I love Atlantis. I think it's Atlantis, right? The city that sunk. I love how everyone hates it. Very fitting. There's so much interesting lore like interspersed throughout this book that I think would probably take a reread to really process a lot of it. I think one of my favorites is probably when they were on the same planet. There was a trap that Blue set, and Red was going to fall for the trap, and Blue saved her, or the opposite way. I think it was Blue's trap. And then Red almost fell for it. That was really good. And that was the first time they saw each other in person. And so that was also fascinating because they always saw the remnants of each other until then, and then that's when they actually saw each other, though their appearance changes. So this is a book I really appreciate because it shows how relationships, any kind of relationship, transcends like physical presence or what a person looks like, or X, Y, and Z. It's who a person is or how a person is, and this book really emphasizes that, and I really appreciate that. So, and they really do have like contrasting personalities. Like throughout the whole book, you can tell that they are different people, but that they really fit together too. So it was really good. It was really, really good. Really good. I think the ending, once I started seeing it happening, I was like, oh, this makes sense. But until then, I was like, what's she gonna do? Or they. I don't even know if they have gender. I think they use she. But I'm not sure. I think they just use names. She. Okay, it is she. I forgot what I was saying because I got distracted by the pronoun question. I was wondering what she was gonna do, and I knew that Blue was gonna eat the poison, but I thought she was just going to live somehow. I didn't realize she was actually gonna die, and then she died, and I was like, well, shit, there's still 3 chapters left. And then Red was like, I know, I have to consume all the blue things, and I was like, huh? And then I realized that Red was her own shadow, and I was like, oh, because I didn't put that together until then. So, using time against itself. There was a line that she said that was something like, it was something like, what a time traveler I am. And that misled me. That line made me think that, like, it meant that she couldn't use time traveling for that purpose, but then she was, and I was like, oh, she can. I think she was just saying that she's lousy for having this happen in the first place. Um, but it ended up working out. At the very end, when there was someone like remaining outside of the cell, I was like, that's Blue. I immediately I was like, that's Blue. But it didn't show how she got out, like what happened. We don't know. I want to know how she got out of the cell. Like, there's the last letter where they talk about like what they're gonna do, where they make their own side of the war, like a neutral party, and they go upstream, up the strands. My dear hyper extremely red object. Also, the nicknames are very entertaining. I love. Oh, I just saw it. One of my favorites was 000FF, the hex code. That's funny. But yeah, they talk about what they're gonna do at the end, and then who knows? Up to interpretation. Very short book. Highly recommend reading if you have not. I should set that non-spoilers, not spoilers. Oops. But fascinating. Fascinating and written in a very fascinating way. Pretty easy to consume too. Again, I thought it'd be a lot more complex for a time travel series or book, but I think it's pretty friendly. Again, there's some things where it's like, what just happened? But you're meant to be confused, so it's actually pretty balanced. I think that's all I had to say about How to Lose the Time War. Pretty short book, so it's hard to fit in a lot to talk about. Moving on to what's new and what is next. I'm going to return this book to my sister first. And then there are two books that I have ongoing currently. Ongoing. It's still stained. Ongoing is the key word. The book I was reading before that y'all are probably curious about is Assassin's Quest. I am 25% through the book. You would think I'd be further, but again, I've been working. I did just drive up to Colorado, which is where I'm at now. So as a result of that, I listened to a lot of the book yesterday when I was driving. However, I didn't make it that far, and I'm at a very like negative part of his story right now. So it's hard to get motivation to read because he's not doing well. And like, I don't get me wrong, I enjoy when things aren't going well, but also there's a lot of other things in life not going well, and I can only take so much. So that's the status of Assassin's Quest. I'm working on it. I love it. There's some really, dude. There were some scenes. There's been several scenes already that I've been losing my mind. Like when I was in the car yesterday, I was like screaming. So it's really good. It's really, really, really good. And I'm actually convincing one of my friends to read Farseer too. So it's really good. It's just also a lot of energy to read right now. But I'm getting there. I'm getting there. Slowly. The other book I'm reading is for a like book club I'm doing at work with two of my coworkers that I love and adore. They are reading The Word for World is Forest by Ursula K. Le Guin. If you recall, I read an Ursula K. Le Guin book a year and a half ago, The Left-Handed Darkness. I loved that book. So when they told me that they were doing this read together, I asked if I could join. Well, I think they offered, and I was like, yeah. So I bought this book because my library doesn't have it, and I'll be reading this with them, hopefully within the next month. It's another short book. They're pretty similarly sized. Another short book, but knowing it's Ursula K. Le Guin, I know it's going to be a lot to take in as well. I don't know what year this one came out. If it's newer or older. 1972. I think that's older. Let's look. Oh, Left-Handed Darkness is older, 1969. The word of world is forest. Yeah, 1972. Would you look at that? So, this book's very slightly newer. It's not going to be, like, substantially newer. So, it'll be very interesting to read. I know nothing about this book. I haven't read the back. I'm not going to read the back. I'm just going to dive into it. And then we're going to do a little... like, group discussion thing in a month when we've all finished it. I think currently they are halfway through it, and I'm behind. Because I said I want to finish another book. One of my coworkers is also reading another book at the same time too. I think one of them, trying not to say names, but one of them just finished Gideon the Ninth, and now Gideon the Ninth is back on my radar again. So I may read Gideon the Ninth again, because if the most likely time for me to make it through Harrow is when I have someone I can talk to that's actively going through Harrow the Ninth. I have friends that have read Harrow the Ninth, and they've been very pushy on it, and I think what would help me is having someone who's also new to it and go through it together. So I might try to speed run Gideon the Ninth as well, so I can maybe have someone to talk to about Harrow. But that means I gotta finish this and this very quickly. I guess, like, it depends how much desk work I have at work. For the most part, I can't listen to books at work unless I'm, like, going through emails at my desk. I'm not at my desk often, that's the problem. If I'm at my desk, I can listen to books. So maybe I could do Gideon the Ninth at work. But I would need to be doing desk work, which is not really what I want to do either. So lose. But yeah, we'll see what happens. This is probably the next book I'll finish, unless I crank this out, which, I mean, is theoretically possible, but it's a long book. I think I have, in audio terms, I think I have like 30 hours left, which even at 1.75, which is what I was listening to for Farseer, I think that's still going to be like 19 hours. So, very long book, a lot left. And I've been doing a lot of other things at home with my roommates, a lot of video games, a lot of TV shows, because I don't watch TV shows, but they do, and so it's been getting me back into TV. So I've been doing a lot of things that aren't reading, which is my fault. So we'll see when these things get done, and we'll see what plans come to fruition. This weekend I am back here to get a tattoo, go to Ren Fair, and hang out with friends. So it's also possible I'll get some more books at Ren Fair. We shall see. But I've been considering doing generic nerdy updates that aren't necessarily about books, but are the audience of book readers. Not often, but like occasionally when I'm so busy that I have a lot of other stuff going on. Just throwing it out there. Don't know if it'll happen. Okay, I believe that's it. I will stop yapping. I hope you all have a good one, and I'll see you whenever I see you. Goodbye.